Welcome back to the show. X-Men First Class swooped to #1 at the UK box office this week, almost guaranteeing a sequel to the prequel. We caught up with stars James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as they talked about one of the most exciting superhero movies of recent times.
I got to have a lot of fun making this one. I enjoy playing people who think they are funny or think they are good at flirting. And in this incarnation, Professor Charles Xavier thinks he's both those things.
You know, Ian McKellen had done such a great job in the first trilogy, but you know, you just have to sort of forget about that and sort of, you know, just sort of get stuck into the work really. And I had so much in the comic book source material to sort of formulate a character there. I mean, there was more than enough material to come up with something. So I just kind of, you know, I just sort of got stuck into it.
It's the first film I've done for a long time that I 100% can guarantee and recommend without having to tell porkies. I love this movie, and I guarantee that everyone else will.
We can end this threat for good. Mutants are collateral damage.
The real enemy is out there.
Humans.
Killing will not bring you peace. Peace was never an option.
We've got 2 sets of X-Men goodies to give away, courtesy of our friends at 20th Century Fox. All you have to do is log on to this website here, like that, and answer this simple question. Who plays Professor Charles Xavier in X-Men First Class? Is it A, James McAvoy? Is it B, Patrick Stewart? Or is it C, Lenny Beige? The first 2 people to answer win the prizes. And don't worry, I'll be there to make sure that it's not Havid Dews.
Fighting for pole position in the box office race this weekend was the new documentary Senna about the late great Brazilian racing driver. And if you despaired of them ever making a good movie about Formula One after seeing Sylvester Stallone in Driven, you'd be forgiven. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest drivers in Formula One, considered by many to be the best driver. And so he was huge. He's loved by so many people, but there's something special about Ayrton, which is that it's not just he was a genius as a driver, he was a really special man away from the car, and he had a special kind of humanity, he had something about him.
How do you feel about being world champion?
It's not a bad feeling at all, is it?
He wasn't just a genius in one particular field, he was really special as a man, and that's what the movie's about. It really just is about his journey.
There is a lot to go, a lot to learn, a lot to do, but I have plenty of time. Pure driving, real racing. That makes me happy.
And now it's time to welcome special guest, stand-up comedian and VHS connoisseur Richard Sandling. So what have you got for us this week?
Well, I've got a couple of films. First up I thought would be a British movie, Paper Mask, which is the Paul McGann film where he pretends to be a doctor.
Right, he's like a medical school dropout.
A medical orderly who pretends to be a doctor.
And he gets away with it for a frighteningly long time.
Yeah, because he has the help of Amanda Donohoe.
Just getting things organised.
Do I get a local or what?
Just testing.
If you've got a moment, there's a guy in the edge with his leg hanging off.
Back in a minute, okay?
If you'd have asked me, not having rewatched it, what I thought of it, I'd say it's brilliant. But having rewatched it, it's still good, but I'm not as mad on it as I was.
Right.
Although Amanda Donohoe is still pretty foxy.
Do you think it's convincing? I mean, it's based on a novel, and I always found it quite frighteningly convincing.
Yeah, well, I did have actually worked in a hospital as an orderly, and that aspect of it's quite realistic. It's
that if you just put on a white coat and seem to know and a name tag.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look like you belong there, people just accept that you should be there. That's sort of how things can work. But it's also, it is quite theatrically acted, despite the fact that it's obviously supposed to be quite sort of realistic. So there is a little bit weird, like sort of the styles are it's a bit odd.
Right.
And it is directed by someone who mostly did television dramas, apart from Clockwise, didn't really do any other films. So it does have a very much 4:3, you know, TV look to it. But I like that look.
So that's Paper Mask on DVD now. And another one that's first time on DVD that's been around for a while is you've got The Gathering.
The Gathering, whoa, The Gathering.
Lovely bootleg copy you've got there, but now it's out on shiny new DVD.
Yep.
So what's The Gathering all about? It's Christina Ricci in a British movie.
Yeah, it's the Isle of Man Film Commission, which immediately sets off alarm bells as tax break, not I've got a movie I really want to make in my head. This is someone going, I know how I can make some money. Not I've got a brilliant idea for a film.
But it's directed by Brian Gilbert.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's written by Anthony Horowitz, who did like the Stormbreaker, but also loads of like Foyle's War and loads of like proper solid telly.
Yeah.
And the guy who did Tom and Viv and Wild
directed it.
Yeah, he directed it, and somehow it's rubbish.
You bought something of your own that you're excited about this week.
Well, they've released the DVD of Savage Streets.
You begged, you pleaded, but they did it anyway.
Enough people start up an internet campaign.
Savage Street, this is Linda Blair is back in the erotic extravaganza.
Linda Blair is back as if that's a character, not an actress. And if you can see there, she's dressed like a female Mad Max. The idea is that it's basically Death Wish for girls, but with all the nudity and violence for the boys.
Right.
Basically, so you have a strong female lead who basically she's part of a gang, and they get in wrong with another gang who take umbrage at this, a male gang, and so they kill her best friend and rape her deaf sister, and then she gets revenge on them with a crossbow.
Right.
And starts going on a rampage of crossbows. Like they killed her best friend, they raped her sister. Now she's not taking it anymore, and it's just.
And she's got a crossbow.
She's got a crossbow.
And it's Linda Blair.
And it's Linda Blair.
No! Oh my! I missed, and I did so want to see you bleed to death.
Yeah, baby.
Linda Blair in Savage Streets, where the only law is an eye for an eye.
It's the sort of film where the idea is that she's really upset. So how do we show she's really upset? We'll have her completely naked, crying in a bath. That's like to show the emotional. Like,
right.
So we're being sensitive, but
so she'll only do nudity if it's absolutely essential to sell videos.
Crying in a bath. It is, sort of rubbish, but in a good way.
Thanks very much, Richard Sandling.
Thank you.
Also on Blu-ray this week, it's the 40th anniversary of Stanley Kubrick's brilliant satire, A Clockwork Orange. So hold on to your yarbles and feast your glazzies on Malcolm McDowell.
The Blu-ray that I saw in California, I was amazed. It's mind-boggling at how beautiful it is. And of course, you get all the extra stuff, Actually, what they did was very interesting. They had a table full of documents that came from the archives, from the Kubrick estate. And I'd just pick them up and I could reminisce about these things and, about the Durango 95, purred away, real horror show. A warm, vibraty feeling in your gutty wuts.
Viddy well, me droogies.
Released by Lionsgate this August, this brand new British thriller, The Holding, directed by first-time director Susan Jacobson, and we're delighted to have Susan with us here today. So tell us, what's The Holding about?
As you said, it's a thriller. It's a kind of suspense thriller, and it's about a woman called Cassie who lives on a remote farm in the Peak District. She murders her husband to stop him from hurting her two daughters and secretly buries him on her farm. And about 8 months later, a so-called enigmatic stranger who says he's a friend of her husband's turns up. And all hell breaks loose.
You stay here.
Put it down, you're not going to use it. Get out.
What have you got coming up next? How are you going to follow The Holding?
Well, we have a fantastic project which came through a very weird way on my desk, and it is a kind of a Western. It was written 40 years ago, strangely enough, by Jeb Rosebrook, who intended it to be a script for Sam Peckinpah to direct Steve McQueen many years ago. And through various circumstances, that never turned out to be. So the script landed on my desk. Phenomenal characters. I think there's just so much scope to really attract a great cast.
Sounds exciting.
Very exciting.
Wish you luck with everything and
Thank
the
you.
release of The Holding. Susan Jacobson, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was the first episode of the Film First show. Thanks very much to our special guests, Richard Sandling and director Susan Jacobson.
And our very special audience who enjoy Bridesmaids.
And we'll see you next time on the Film First show.
See you soon.